Let's check in with the doc and look at things with a wider lens. Pastor Richards on OMG.
Gonna ask those folks calling to please clear the lines. I'm so sorry. Let's hopefully see if this pastor now. Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
All right, because it's been blinking. So I was wondering if it's really you. Good morning, Pastor.
Good morning to you. Good morning to everyone in the studio, and good morning to all those who are listening wherever you are. Pray always that circumstances are relatively well with you. And this morning, yesterday I went on a marathon, and it was after I checked back, I realized that I went on and on forever.
It was fine.
And I did ask you to interject, and I did not hear you.
I came in at the last minute.
Yeah, but I mean, I did not. Actually, on review of the thing, I heard that
I made an attempt.
You were trying to get in, and I just didn't give you.
I know. It's okay. It's all right. No harm done there.
Yeah, but I really trust me. On my end, it was low, so I really didn't hear you. It was on review of it that I actually heard you.
I realized that you didn't hear, because I know that if you hear somebody trying to sit, you would allow them.
Yes,
but no harm done, and I really can't even remember. I really don't.
Yeah, well, this morning, first of all, these things changed so quickly. Yesterday, on my commentary, part of my commentary was premised on the fact that there was, and I actually said there's currently no real effective treatment. I remember saying that there's currently no real effective treatment for the coronavirus, and especially if you develop the COVID-19, that I don't know that there is no there's a real treatment for that. So I remember saying that yesterday. I also remember saying that there is no vaccine known to be on the immediate horizon. I know they're working, but they're still throwing their hands up in the air. Well, lo and behold, last night when I got a chance after my meetings to listen to the news, I heard that there is now a drug out there that they are positing as a treatment, remdesivir. I don't know if you heard of that, but here's what I know. All along, for the past 6 weeks, I think they have been, the term that they have been using is trying to repurpose existing drugs. A certain one, hydro something, was various existing drugs that were used for treatment of viruses, were being looked at to repurpose them. Again, viruses, bacteria, all of that, they have antibacterial, you have antiviral, and not all obviously antiviral drugs have specific purposes for which they were developed. Some for malaria, some for other things. But there's, I shouldn't say stockpile, but there are drugs out there that have been developed for various fighting viral infections. And the early thought was, or the thought 6 weeks ago was, as we struggle to scramble to put together a drug, why not look at existing antiviral drugs and see if, and here's the term they used, see if we can repurpose the drug to fight or to slow what the virus is doing in the body. Well, last night I did hear that the trial was done on remdesivir with a fairly sizable, small but viable enough population, and suggesting that it does stop the work of the virus, the damage of the virus in the body. In fact, what they said is that those who were given placebo, which is the sugar pill, let me say that sugar pill, stayed longer had a longer hospitalization period as a result of the coronavirus, as opposed to, or in comparison to those who were treated with remdesivir. They were able to be released from hospital 3 days earlier. So the whole notion is that there is some positive effect to the use of remdesivir. So that is something to watch. My cynical kind of mind immediately, and I don't know if I should say this, but I tell you, I'll be honest, my mind went to, some investors and some drug companies are really, really happy with the FDA right at this moment, and that's all I should say about that. Because the machinations behind repurposing drugs, getting the test done, getting the FDA to approve the drugs. There's a lot of politics, and there's a Shark Tank out there right now related to the coronavirus. Let me just go ahead and say that. Okay, so I don't know if I want. I'm excited that there's a drug out there that is showing effect, but I think the fight is going to be on to push a drug that is really going to be actually effective. But also you look at the profit side to sway the FDA, because I know the FDA has shut down quite a number of different repurposed drugs and said that they're not good to go. But for whatever reason, they are given the green light, or seem to be poised to give the green light to remdesivir. So that is something to watch. And the reason I pointed that out is simply because yesterday during my commentary, I said, there's no drug. And 12 hours later, there was a drug. So things can change rather quickly.
Pastor?
Yeah.
You're hearing me, right? Okay. So this is where I just want to verify something with you. I heard a bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this drug, is it Dr. Fauci?
Anthony.
We have different names, different pronunciations.
No, this is not Fauci. This is, and where's
Did he speak about it?
I'm not sure that he did, but the guy who developed the drug, which university? Not Purdue. Oh God, I think it's Indiana, but I could be wrong. So, but he's on the public health and safety team for a particular university. Let me say that without calling the university's name. And this is not something he developed now. This is a drug that was developed back then for a different viral treatment for a different virus. But the whole thing is repurposing the drug, and it was developed for a particular purpose before, but now you have a new purpose. Let's do a trial run. Again, it has to go through trials. When it was done, the trial was done with people who were, animals, and then people who were infected with a particular virus back then. But now you have to try it again and repurpose it for this current virus and see how it reacts. There are a number of variables and a number of factors that are involved. I listened to them last night, including what is the correct dosage, because the dosage for one virus is going to vary from the dosage for another virus. Another variable that I heard last night was not just the amount in terms of the dosage, but also how long should you, apply. Some said 5 days. So they had to go through all of this, and it's still in process. But the gentleman, and there's a team of them that actually worked to develop this drug back then. But now that it is being repurposed, and the testing is being done with a sample population, they're discovering that there are positive effects to this drug.
That's my question. The sample, the persons that it's being tested on, are these persons who have the virus currently or who are not?
Well, the 1,048, thereabout, just over 1,000 people who were tested positive for the coronavirus, and also it seemed like, if I gather from what they were saying, it actually developed into COVID, and therefore they were treating the COVID to stop the spread. You know what the COVID does to the lungs and all of that. You have this hospitalization period that is extended, and sometimes you get out of hospital before you have to go to ventilators, and in other cases you end up in ICU room with the ventilator. I follow the science in terms of what the virus does to the lungs, and then as the white blood cells come in and try to fight against the virus, the inflammation that is actually caused in that fight, the inflammation that is caused causes the lungs to become saturated, and you have to basically, to inhale, exhale, it becomes a real issue. And basically, someone said, you die, and this is true. Some billionaire guy died. And why did he die? They said because the one thing that was free, he could not get it, which was a breath of fresh air. And so, to your question, these people actually had the coronavirus and developed into COVID. But in administering the drug in various trial doses, they found that, and again, once you do these kind of tests from a scientific point of view, you have your test population, and then you have your other population in which you're going to administer a placebo and not the drug itself, because you want to compare the two populations together to see if in one case where the drug is administered, if it is effective, but you want the sample group or the comparison group, and so you administer the placebo. So in this case, they split half of the people who were administered the placebo, and half of them were administered the remdesivir. And the result, as they tabulated it, showed that the people who were administered the remdesivir who had a shorter hospitalized, they were able to get out of hospital and not even go to ventilators and all of that, as compared to people who were not given the remdesivir but were given the placebo. That is pretty much in a nutshell what happened, to answer your question, Denise.
Okay. Because I was wondering if it's preventative or if it's treatment.
This is treatment. The vaccine, now that's the difference between treatment and vaccine.
Right.
Treatment will deal with if you already have it, how can we slow the spread and how can we cure the thing? How can we get you to be out of this situation? Vaccine now is supposed to produce in you, to introduce into your system enough of the virus itself so that your body can produce the antibodies. Once you have the antibodies, then you're in a position, you have an army ready to fight should you be exposed to the virus. So the whole idea of the vaccine is to get people around, once you have been vaccinated, to have your army at ready. In other words, you are vaccinated, you have your army at ready should you be exposed to the real deal, the coronavirus. Your army would deal with it before it is going to develop into. When I say your army, the antibodies would fight, any exposure or any instance in which coronavirus, infects your body. You would fight that. So that's the vaccine would do that. So they're still not anywhere near, as far as I'm hearing, close to having a vaccine. But this remdesivir, repurposed from what it was originally intended for, gives hope for the treatment of COVID-19. And that's good news for people to know. I mean, that not that you're not going to, again, this doesn't say you're not going to get COVID-19 or that you are not going to ever be infected by the virus. This doesn't say that. It says once that happens, we have a trial drug here that seems to offer hope. So, again, if you compare that with a scenario where yesterday I was saying there's nothing out there, and today I can now come and say there is something out there that offers hope, that's good news. Now, on another note, because I was just talking to a gentleman before I came on this show here, and he referred, and in our conversation, he talked about what is our local reality. And I actually have to ask that question. This is a real question that we have to, if I were to ask you, everybody out there listening, what is our reality here in St. Vincent with respect to coronavirus? And most people probably say, I really don't know. I really don't know. In fact, sometimes I think we are more abreast of the reality around the world than we are with the reality here in St. Vincent. The reality globally, as I continue to look at the hardest hit area, I told you guys a few weeks ago that for reasons known only to me, I follow very closely what is happening in China, mainland China, not Taiwan, but I follow what's happening in mainland China. And so I happen to have contact there and know a little bit more of what's happening to mainland China. And so China I follow. I follow the hardest hit areas. Hear me well, okay? I follow the hardest hit areas. What's happening in Italy? I was alarmed a few weeks ago what was happening there in Britain. Even the Prime Minister and royal family affected. Spain, France, a little bit of Sweden and Germany, not a whole lot. The United States, big time. But then, and people would agree with me that these have been your hardest hit countries. In fact, the world's narrative daily was consumed with what's happening in these countries. The current reality is, again, I spoke about the shelf life of the virus as it follows a pattern. Generally, all viruses will follow a pattern of initial startup, the spur, the acceleration, the spread, it will reach its peak, and then it will begin its decline, some slow, some rapid decline. Where is coronavirus in all of these countries that I mentioned. And I don't think there's anybody out there who would argue with me that these have been the hardest hit countries. What's the status of the spread of the virus? And in terms of the shelf life, because I watched the mapping that was done, it was actually done on CNN where they put the comparative mapping of what's happening in the United States. It was sort of a bell curve. Well, it was a curve. It wasn't a totally true bell curve, but I watched that curve. I watched Italy's curve. I don't think they give a curve for China, but they give a curve for all of the other European countries. I watched it. And in every single case, what they showed on the curve, others of you who saw this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you saw it too. They pointed out to the fact that in all of these countries that were hardest hit, that they were all beyond the peak, that the virus was following a particular pattern that most viral infections, especially new viruses, follow, where there's a startup, the spread, the acceleration, the peak, and then the decline. And that in all of these countries, the virus was on the decline. And again, what I was hearing coming out of the USA, don't get fooled by that. It is on the decline now, but a week or two after that, I heard them saying, but watch out, it is going to come back with a vengeance, with a bang, in the mid-fall, late fall, and early winter, that it could be very devastating again. So the current status right now is it has peaked, and that is significant that people have to get this, that in the countries that have been hardest hit, it has peaked. That's the reality. Caused a lot of destruction, but it is declining. Still causing destruction, but it is subsiding. The diminution is taking place. That is Anthony Fauci's word, the diminution of the virus. And the diminution in the spread of the virus, I should say, is taking place. That's a key thing that you have to zero in on. That is indisputable. A diminution in the spread of the virus is currently taking place in the hardest hit area. Now let's come to St. Vincent. What is our local reality here? And does our local reality offer hope? Our local reality is that if you go by official statistics, we have had, I think, maybe even disputable, but we have had 16 positive cases. 16 positive cases here. Some have recovered, and others are in the process of recovery. In terms of the number of deaths we have had here in St. Vincent, as far as I know, it is currently 0. That's part of our local reality. You can dispute me if you think I'm wrong, but I actually think that the reported deaths from COVID here in St. Vincent have been 0. No, okay, so we have had 16 tested positive, listen this, for coronavirus. Now, in terms of how many of those have actually, the virus has developed into COVID-19. Again, less than 16. I don't know if any of them are hospitalized and having the breathing problems and all of the pneumonia and all of that related to the COVID. But as far as I know, I mean, that is a real minimal figure here in St. Vincent. Again, people can correct me if I'm wrong. If we have an alarming case of COVID, the disease, here in St. Vincent, or if we don't. Okay, so again, correct me if I'm wrong. So that's how I am trying to, as I listen to people talk and do their commentaries and all of that, I am still trying to be grounded, not by the realities of other countries. I am still trying to be grounded and guided. Notice my words. I am still trying to be grounded and guided by our current reality. Well, some people will say to me, you could get yourself fooled if you want to get yourself fooled. People will say to me, I ain't going by what the official statistics are. We have COVID all over the place here in St. Vincent. I mean, we have coronavirus everywhere. Now, hear me and hear me well. In every country that I know, every country, the number of persons who have the coronavirus is actually greater than the number of persons who have tested positive for coronavirus. That's just a given. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know this. Then the only reason why we have numbers going up is because tests are going off to be checked and come back. But even before the tests come back, these persons already have the virus. That's why the test is coming back positive. This is a rocket science. People have the virus even before tests come back. So I am not deluding myself into thinking, well, only 16 tests came back positive, so therefore only 16 persons here have had the coronavirus. No, that's just silly. The only I am saying, before you send, whether to Trinidad or CAF or wherever, before you send off the test, the person already has the coronavirus. And when the test goes off, it's not like they're getting the virus after the test goes off. But when the test comes back, it says, yes, I have the virus. But you can count them even before the test comes back. They have the virus even before the test comes back. And whether or not the test went off and got tested and came back, they have the virus. That's our reality. So I hear people will say to me, yeah, man, enough people have the coronavirus. So I ask myself, either way you look at it, if you look at it from the point of view that the official statistics are absolute and right, I actually think that's good news. The reason why I think that is good news is that for some reason, with 16 people being tested positive for coronavirus here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 16 being tested, we don't know if it has developed extensively into COVID-19. In fact, we don't hear of people coming down with the pneumonia and all of that because of that. That's good news. Of course, that's good news. Come on. And we don't know that people have died because of coronavirus for whatever reason here in St. Vincent. We don't know that people have died. That is good news. That's our reality. Our reality is good news. Well, if you're on the skeptical side, like I may be or others may be, and you think, boy, don't trust them results. There are other people have the coronavirus here in St. Vincent. Enough people have the coronavirus. All over St. Vincent, people have the coronavirus. Well, if that is the case, then where is the good news in that? Well, how long are we into this now? 2 months, 3 months? If people all over St. Vincent, since the first case started here, or we were aware of, because it may have been here before, we were aware of the first case in March, mid-March. If that were the case, and we so long have had this incredible number of people in St. Vincent with the coronavirus, I mean, that is amazing to me. That with all these people who have the coronavirus in St. Vincent, nobody's coming down with the COVID disease because of it. If tons of people have coronavirus all over the place, in the stores, in the market, in the bank, in the communities out leeward or up windward, it can spread like wildfire. Everybody has the virus. So I'm asking myself, it was just a 1 week thing, but 6 weeks in, 7 weeks in, and the virus, like, it ain't nobody getting the COVID. I'm like, this is good news. If tons of people could be getting the virus, but it is not developing in St. Vincent, it is not developing into COVID, that is good news. And if tons of people, hundreds of people, Pastor, have the virus, Pastor, probably thousands of people have the virus for weeks now, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and it ain't killing anybody, I think that is good news. I just think that our local reality, however you dice it, however you cut it, however you parse it, I just think our local reality is good news. Now, having said that, like I've been saying all along, I can't dispute the facts. I can't dispute the fact that people, by and large, are not coming down with COVID here in St. Vincent and being hospitalized. I can't dispute that. I can't dispute that people are not dying because they have developed COVID and all of that. I can't dispute any of that. But at the same time, I have been saying with caution, given the fact that we have good news, first of all, let's be honest about our good news, please. Let's be honest about it. And secondly, don't use this as an occasion to be cavalier. This is something I'll be saying all along. Because for whatever reason that the spread of the virus is inhibited, or that it is not developing as rapidly and as drastically and having the devastating effect as it is having in other countries, the reality is still COVID can still come to St. Vincent, which we have seen, and COVID can still spread in St. Vincent, which we have seen. Don't be a dummy and foolish and go out there and take chances. So 2 things I want to say. I celebrate the good news because there is good news in St. Vincent, but I continue to recommend caution. I continue to recommend that you don't take chances because the real possibility is you could still catch the virus here in St. Vincent, and you don't want that. You still have to wear the masks. You still have to wash your hands. You still have to practice good personal hygiene. You still can't be cavalier, but you also have to be responsible and realistic. Given the good news that we have in St. Vincent, given how the virus behaves, given the fact that people are not coming down with the COVID-19 as has happened elsewhere, even 7 weeks in, given the fact that people are not dying from COVID-19, I have to ask this next responsible question. What, therefore, should our response be? Should we, and I used the chicken little yesterday, I used the fox and the chicken, I used the elephant and the cat, I used the lion in the street, I will use the African proverb today. Fear makes the wolf seem bigger. If we have a realistic grasp on our situation vis-a-vis the number of COVID deaths, though we don't know, we might speculate that hundreds and thousands of people have it here in St. Vincent, the virus, but the reality is people are not coming down with the disease and they're not dying. How much should we therefore be pushing towards a lockdown as compared to how much should we be pushing for, see how we can get to functionality, but be very cautious and be very careful and practice good hygiene. I think our reality predisposes me and guides me to a particular course of action. But others can look at our reality and it can perhaps guide them to a different source of action. I just think that if I examine the two ends of the pendulum, and given our situation, what's happening with respect to how many persons are coming down with COVID and how many persons are dying of COVID, I think that enough of a case can be made for cautiously progressing and functioning as a society.
Thank you, Pastor.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Let's check in with the doc and look at things with a wider lens. Pastor Richards on OMG.